Founding Champions, welcome back. Scott here with Founding Champions, and I'm just so glad that you're here with me today. I have some news for you, preview news, a little bit. So if you go to the Warhammer Champions website, right, go to the website, go to Onslaught, click Lore and Card Reveal. If you click on Card Reveal, you'll see the two cards that have been spoiled, and then when and by whom we'll be spoiling the next cards. So the next one's a champion to be revealed at Warhammer Weekender, and then you can buy tickets apparently. Then we have Exemplar Discord reveal, invite only. Apparently that's on the 5th of November. Card to be revealed by the Competitive Edge. Jeff Hoogland. I know a lot of you might not exactly know who he is. If you play Magic, you probably know who Jeff is. Another Competitive Edge, Champions Facebook page, Twitch GGDOA. I personally don't really know much about this guy at all. But we can click on it and you'll see where it goes to, who this guy is. I really haven't seen much of his stuff at all. I don't even recognize who that is, honestly. Twitch GG, just doing 4 of them. Beasts of War, Team Covenant. I'm familiar with those guys. But let's, without further ado, we're gonna go to we're gonna go on lore, and we're gonna talk about the lore a little bit. So, the Onslaught lore, the Age of Sigmar storyline. This is following the storyline. It's a little behind, but it's pretty much right there, kind of. And there's a lot of back storyline that we were also not covering. We're starting at the sort of the beginning, the Realm Gate Wars, and then forward. And those Realm Gate Wars all the way to the Necroquake, that actually spans like a few hundred years. Onslaught lore, Hammerhal, the twin-tailed city, has long stood between the realms of fire and life, a beacon of the God King, Sigmar's righteous glory. However, in the wake of the Shyish Necroquake, dark magic permeates the realms, and Hammerhal sits on the brink of war. Hammerhal is just a city. It has a lot of men in it, and there's other races there too. It's an order-based city, obviously protected by Sigmar. Let's see, and we're a few hundred years after the Realm Gate Wars, which is when Sigmar first sorts of declares war on Chaos. That's when he opens the Realm Gate and then goes down to these different areas, like the Realm of Fire and Life. He's in the Realm of Azir, and he comes down and tries to cleanse these realms of Chaos. And Hammerhal is just a city on one of these realms that was partly cleansed. Without warning, Lady Oleander, Mortarch of Grief, calls forth a legion of the damned, ready to strike at the very heart of the city, while on opposing flanks the Zealots of Chaos and brutal Beastclaw Raiders each pledge to seize control of the city for their dark masters. However, all is not yet lost. Aventus Firestrike, Magister of Hammerhal, has rallied his Stormcast warriors and called for assistance from the battle-hardened warriors of the Idoneth Deepkin to push back against these overwhelming odds. Can the champions of Hammerhal repel this massing threat, or will this great city be reduced to rubble? I don't really know why. So Chaos wants to destroy everything, basically. They get the orders, they want to destroy things. Death, they want to conquer, they want to kill living and resurrect. And also fight Chaos. Death is at war with Chaos and Order and Destruction. And Destruction is there. It seems like all 4 Grand Alliances represented. Destruction is there. They just want to look for big fights. They're Dark Masters. I don't know the lore on their Dark Masters. They pretty much, Gorka Morka is not a Dark Master, so they're just being poorly led into wanting to go fight them. The Grand Alliances. Okay, we're not going to go over that. Order, Chaos, Death, Destruction. And you have a little, extra words on those. But Aventus Firestrike, here he is. Ventus Firestrike, Magister of Hammerhal, and he is a model. You can build and play with him in the model game. In the wake of the Necroquake, Ventus Firestrike was named Magister of Hammerhal by the god King Sigmar. He is the lightning that strikes suddenly and without warning, but also the scorched earth that remains in his wake. While the enemies of Order may be numerous, and Hammerhal faces a conflict like the likes of which it has never seen before, this stalwart champion of Order does not waver. He looks on, eagerly awaiting the moment that he might claim more lives from the followers of Chaos, for they have a debt to pay, and he shall be the one to collect. Cool. Skarbrand. Skarbrand he's pretty much badass. Skarbrand he's insane. Big Chaos dude. I'm not going to read that. He's just a big, nasty Chaos Corn demon. Really big, real nasty. And he gets stronger the more damage he takes. So hopefully that's represented in the card game. The more damage you take, the stronger or better he gets. Maybe. We'll see. Lady Oleander. You've seen enough of her. She is the preview. She's a new Mortarch. So Nagash has several Mortarchs. Basically his field marshals, his biggest generals, are the Mortarchs. And he had to create a new one. He realized that he has a lot of spirits, and the spirits don't have a Mortarch. You have Neferata, that is in charge of vampires. You have Archon the Black, which is in charge of skeletons. You have Manfred von Karstein, which is in charge of, or sort of mix of stuff, but basically vampires and beasts. And those are your three Mortarchs. And Manfred does a little bit with the, what are those? The Mordants. But then you have Lady Oleander, who is the Mortarch of now the Spirits. And we're going to move on. Frostlord Vorgan Loshar. This is the one I want to get into the most in this video. We are about halfway through the video. Vorgan Loshar and his mighty Beastclaw Raiders ride to battle on the edge of the Everwinter, an unforgiving storm of razor-sharp ice that ravages any who becomes lost within. The Frostlord's hunger... I was about to say something, sorry. The Frostlord's hunger for destruction is unparalleled. His nomadic tribe of ogres consuming all but the screams of those unfortunate enough to cross their path. Now, in his eternal hunt for the approval of the mighty orc warlord Gordrak, Vorgrum Loshar finds himself drawn to the gates of Hammerhal Gira, the spirit of the Wa, spurring him on, calling for the destruction of all that stands in his way, and in his victory, finally earning a place at Gordrak's side. I don't know, that's a little weird for Gordrak, to be commanding Beastclaw Raiders like that, or Beastclaw Raiders wanting to be commanded by. It sounds very chaosy, very chaos-esque. It's a little strange to me, but I'm sure somebody that knows more about the lore can weigh in just a little more. Right now I'm going to go to the GW Workshop, and we will look at some Beastclaw Raiders stuff. Let's go to Beastclaw Raiders. Where's that? Right here. Beastclaw Raiders. So what are the Beastclaw Raiders? They are they're cursed by the Everwinter. It's a giant blizzard, essentially. I could be torn up in the comments for calling it that, but it's basically a giant blizzard that follows them around. Whether it be following them around or them just trying to escape it, it's about the same thing. The Everwinter can kill them just as much as he can kill anything else. It's a very big, damaging blizzard, like you saw, razor-sharp ice. They ride giant Stonehorns, which are these massive beasts. And you can tell an ogre is very large. A human being would stand about this big. A human being would be about that big on a Stonehorn. And as you can tell, the ogre is that big. Made myself dizzy there, swirling that in circles there for a second. And then they also have Frostlords on Thundertusks. Thundertusks have this more distinct horn here. Frostlord is just a sort of warband leader type. Mournfang Pack is when you have your sort of standard ogres on these cows. They're not cows, but they're about cows. They're just these beasts that they ride. Tell the ogre is about as large as the beast. And here's their weaponry. They use very primitive style of flintlock type musket type guns and large clubs, spears, hacking things. They use banners and horns to signal their commands. We have Icefall Yetis, which is a sort of beast that goes around with them. And they have a very specific lore. The Icebrow Hunter. And there is a, here it is, Frost Sabers. They're sort of pets. And you can tell that this theme comes from a very, I guess, Neanderthal-aged, very old theme of those just, the Ice Age of humans, but these are actually ogres living in the Ice Age, and then having woolly mammoths and such like that. That's who they are. They do follow under destruction. They do. They go by their god is Gork and Mork, or Gorka Morka. They do look humanoid, but they are not orcs. They're not full-blooded orcs or grots or anything like that. They are ogres. And they command different little beasts and such. So that gives you a little bit better insight into who they are, what they are. And I can't wait to see them in card form. I can't bring up too much about what these do in the game. But they are very innumerous, or I don't want to use that word. That's not the word I want to use. A full army of these guys is very small. You have this is about half an army. What you're looking at is about half an army. About maybe half or 1/3 of an army. Let's see if we can have any more, get any downloads. There we go. Let's go Frostlord on Stonehorn. There we go. This is the War Scroll. This is basically what we use to play the game. If Frostlord on Stonehorn gets to be too good and it's broken, they can change the points cost, like changing the points cost of a champion, or in a new edition, they can completely get a new page. So the model itself doesn't have rules written on it, and the model itself never changes or gets rotated or banned. You always get to use that model, just like if you could always get to use a card. Now, unfortunately, we have text on the cards, so to change the rules would have to be an errata, and erratas really aren't that good. We don't like playing with cards that don't do what it says. But we can change the points, and that's the easiest way to fix things. So basically, you have this free PDF download, and you can print it out or whatever, or get it on the app, and you have it, and then they would change it if it's too good or not good enough. And they'll change it for you, and you just reprint it or whatever. Obviously, you can't really do that with cards. But they do change the points values. And a standard game is 2,000 points, and a Frostlord and Stonehorn, they range between 300 to about 450, depending on what you get. And they change the points periodically, just to balance out the game. And I think that's what Warhammer Champions should do, is not print points costs and life modifiers on champions. They should leave those blank, and then you basically get a one-page summary. You print it out, you download it, you take a picture of it, and then you use that to reference. So in this game, you use books to reference what these things do. You can buy the different books. I guess I could just use that last page. Here's the book, the Beastclaw Raider book. Thankfully, we don't have to buy a book, and I believe the Champion card game would release them for free. And they do have the app for the miniatures game and such like that. Well, I have exactly 1 minute remaining, and I did go into a little bit about the Beastclaw Raiders. I think that's a faction that people don't know too well, and that's why I wanted to go in depth about it and go a little deeper in. And these factions, they're constantly, changing gears here. They're constantly at war with each other, all four Grand Alliances. So these factions won't be sort of killed off. They're always going to be there in some form or another. Very rarely do they really kill things off. Age of Sigmar was the big kill off. That was sort of the miniatures version of rotation. Hadn't had rotation in like 20 years. That was their version of rotation, and they don't really plan to have one in the future. But guys, with 15 seconds remaining, I do want to thank you for watching. I hope you had an amazing day. And guys, just
Thanks for watching.